Miss me yet? I miss you, and this time I really mean it. Okay, anyway, we're down to Act 3. Okay, now what's happened in Act 1 and Act 2? Basically, we've just gone through the story, okay, the plot is just taking you from one person to another, one place to another, and basically we didn't see any of the issues in Act 1 and Act 2. All we know from these two acts are who's who and who did what, and who's angry with who, and what Mama's gone and done. Okay? But now in Act 3, suddenly it just comes to this very dramatic point. All right, now let's see. The scene opens, all right, and one thing I need you to pay attention to is the stage direction. Okay, if you notice, the dialogue does not immediately start. Okay, maybe it takes about probably a minute or so before they actually start talking. Okay, now although nothing is said, there's nothing in a dialogue, but so much is being communicated with the audience. Okay, just looking at the two of them. All right, now you see at some point in the stage direction here, it says we see on a line from her, Beneatha, to the brother's bedroom. Okay, so we see in a line, so they're probably positioned in such a way where you can see the sameness that is used in the text. Yeah, you can see the sameness between their two attitudes. Okay, so now what are these attitudes that we're talking about? Now, just before that, just before this scene, what's happened is, remember when we did the dramatization the other day, and how it all just fell because it's so dramatic, right? And so that's exactly what's happened before that. So there's this complete silence, that real dramatic silence, and then suddenly the scene opens to this, and you see the aftermath of what actually happened before that. Okay? You have, in the background, you have Walter. Okay, let's look at the text, huh? Walter he's stretched out on the bed. His shirt out and open. His arms under his head, like that. He does not smoke. He does not cry out. He merely lies there, looking up at the ceiling, much as if he were alone in the world. That's probably how he feels, isn't it? Because he basically did what was wrong. Yeah. He went out and gave the money away, as Bonita says. So that's him in his room on his bed, looking like that. So from here, what do you think the audience feels for him? Okay, next. Beneatha. I mean, we all know how she felt, yeah? She's this very ambitious person who knew she really thought she was going to be a doctor, and it wasn't very far away because they had somewhat the money, and she knew that it was already within reach. And then now, her brother's gone and given the money away, and there's nothing left. So now you look at her. In the living room, Beneatha sits at the table, still surrounded by the now almost ominous packing crates. Ominous, why? Ominous is when you feel something bad about to happen, okay? And so now suddenly the packing crates, which, would probably be something, a good sign, now it's ominous. She is looking off, right? Now, looking off as in what? Looking not herself. Okay, usually what does Beneatha look like? When we think of Beneatha, we think of this person who is, she's always had this air of superiority. Yeah, she walks into a room and everyone else is beneath her, because, well, everyone else is lowly compared to her very big ambitions, and she's smart and she goes to school. So now she's looking a bit off, which means she is not looking like herself. All right, probably the opposite, which means instead of feeling very superior, she probably is looking as if she has just lost it. She's hopeless. Okay, so now from this scene, just the opening alone, what can the audience gather? What feeling do you think the audience actually has, or what are they expecting to happen at this point? All right, so now you have this very low and sullen sight, light of gloom in the living room, grey light, not unlike that which began the first scene. Remember, in the first scene it opens up and it's very, it's a very poor house, and somehow it's come back to that. It's as if it's saying, oh, it's all back to square one. Okay, so now, so just looking at this stage direction, okay, this alone can be an exam question. All right, for setting and stage direction, a technical question. So yeah, so you might want to pay attention to this. Okay, so now from that, okay, now we're going to move a little bit more. Now all this sullen, dull, quiet, depressed feeling, and suddenly there's a bell, almost as if like an abrupt stop to like, okay, stop, enough already. And then in comes who? Asagai, with his usual, fine-mannered, cheerful, flamboyant self. Okay, and it's just so contrasting to what's just happened just a minute ago. And then he comes in, he has absolutely no idea what's just happened, right? He has no idea what's just happened. For him, all he knows is that the money is coming, Mama's bought a house, and they're moving. That's all he knows. He has no idea what's happened to that money, because he wasn't around. Okay? So now, he comes in, his usual self, okay, and talks about how, it's so wonderful. It's this family who's moving. It's like a journey. Okay, and then Beneatha drops the bomb. She tells him, now this is in true Beneatha spirit. Okay, she said, Walter gave the money away. She didn't say they lost the money or the money is gone or someone took it away. No, she said Walter gave the money away, because this is typical Beneatha, isn't it? She blames. She blames the whole world for all her problems. And so that's what she's done. Okay. Now, what's funny though is that all along she's been portrayed as this person who the blacks at that time would love to hate, right? I mean, remember Mrs. Johnson? How she says, oh yeah, she's always got something to say. But in this act, we kind of see Beneatha a little bit more human, and she kind of endears herself to the audience. How? Okay, firstly, for the first time, we learn why she's so adamant on being a doctor. Yeah, remember the story she told us a guy about Rufus, and he fell and he split his face, and what she was so amazed with was that when he came back, there was hardly any scar on his face. It was just a little line. Yeah, and she thought, that's something fantastic, isn't it? When you can actually help somebody. And she actually says, it's like this was truly being God. That's what she says. And that's very Bonita, isn't it? Yep, she sees herself that way. Until Asagai snaps out of it and says, you wanted to be God? And then she says, okay, no, I wanted to cure. All right? I wanted to cure. Now you notice here it's in the past tense already. Okay? Now why would it be in the past tense? Does she not still want to be a doctor? Does this mean that she's lost hope? Okay? Now, let's see, why did Hansberry have to make Beneatha's character a little bit more endearing? Why? Because now, for us, women who are here now, okay, we were born in a time when women are stronger. We are empowered. In fact, if you don't go out and make something for yourself, you're lazy. Simple. But at that time, we have many clues here. We've got Murchison, we've got Walter, who's constantly telling her, you don't have to have such high ambitions. You're just a girl. Why don't you just marry someone who's rich, or just go be a nurse? But no, you see, at that time, she had such high ambitions. Just probably, and this kind of maybe it seems like a mockery to the other women at that time, and they probably look at her as someone who is, a snob, someone who is, who thinks she's better off than everybody else. Okay, so that's why when it comes to this scene, when you have Beneatha talking about her intentions to heal people, to cure people, she seems a little bit more human, and she actually has good intentions. And so maybe by this, they will accept her. Okay, and maybe this could be the point where Hansberry points out to the other women that, it really doesn't matter who you are, but if you have the right intentions, nothing can stop you, or nothing should stop you. Okay, kind of like what the Bronte sisters did in the Victorian era. Okay, but that's next semester. Okay. So anyway, when you look at Beneatha through the eyes of a black woman in the 1950s, or even a black man in the 1950s. She's not a very nice person. All throughout Act 1 and Act 2, we see a family going through their struggles. Okay, as I said, yeah, this family is a microcosm of the black society then. Okay, this family going through struggles, and we see how they just blame their struggles on everything. They blame it on the whites, they blame it on alcohol, they blame it on well, their attitudes, even bad luck. Okay, but in Act 3, what we see is in Act 3, the underlying issues, okay, that's been there from the beginning, which we know, but suddenly in Act 3 it all comes out. Okay, so now let's go to the part where Beneatha is talking to Asagai. Okay, now she's just told him about Rufus. Okay, and she says, I wanted to cure. It used to matter. I used to care. I mean about people and their bodies and how their bodies hurt. And Asagai says, and you stopped caring? And she says, yes, I think so. Why? Because it doesn't seem deep enough, close enough to what ails mankind. Okay? Now, she wanted to be a doctor to cure people, right? But here you see how she moves from curing people to ailing mankind. So, now was this Beneatha's way of helping society? I mean, because before this, she came across as a person who was selfish, who only cared about herself, who cared about her own comfort, maybe her family's. But now we actually see that she actually has a side of her that had some hope that through what she does, she'll be able to help society, not just herself. Maybe by her becoming a doctor, a black woman, at that time becoming a doctor, she was hoping that maybe things will change and the society will change. And then, okay, she continues. She says, it was a child's way of seeing things, or an idealist. Okay, now, when someone actually tells themselves that I was just being idealistic, I think that is a sign that they've just become hopeless. Okay, and at this point, she says that she saw things the way a child sees things, or an idealist, and this is where Asagai, being Asagai, you know how he's filled with all these very philosophical things. Yeah, he says children see things very well sometimes, and idealists even better. Okay, now why? Okay, he explains. Yeah. You see, she goes on to, okay, now she kind of puts him down in a sense, okay, because she probably, we're just like her. Yeah, we didn't know Asagai's background. All we know is that he's from Nigeria, and the fact that he's there means that he somewhat has some money, and so he's there able to study away from home, and he's very highly educated. That's all we know. But and so here Beneatha decides to tell him that he's not in a position to correct her, because he is, he has all these brilliant ideas about Africa. Yeah, and she says, okay, I know that's what you think because you are still where I left off. Okay, where is it that she left off? At that point where she still thought she could cure people, and she's telling Asagai that he's still there. Okay, he still thinks he can cure people. Okay, you with all your talk and dreams about Africa, you still think you can patch up the world, cure the great sore of colonialism with the penicillin of independence. This is, you guessed, metaphors. Okay, so she's using that, and the way, okay, look at the stage direction here. It says loftily mocking it. Okay, so now even here she thinks she is better than Asagai because she knows better, like she's dreamt it before and now she's come to terms with, and she's got more experience. She's more knowledgeable now, so she's basically telling him, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, and then Asagai, somewhere down the line, he corrects her. Okay, because she talked about how or rather she talked about why she gave up hope. She's trying to educate him. So when she explains why she gave up hope, she's actually trying to educate him, okay, because she still thinks that he's idealistic and he hasn't learned, and so now she's teaching him. Okay, so she says, you see, what about all the crooks and thieves and just plain idiots who will come into power and steal and plunder the same as before? Now they'll only be black, and they'll do it in the name of independence. Okay? And he says, well, that's a problem for another time. Still being idealistic, yeah? And she asks, where does it end? And he reminds her, who even spoke of an end? To life? To living? Okay? So she thinks she's educating this person because he probably doesn't know how the world works, because she feels she has seen it all just because her little ticket to end her misery has been given away. So she feels that she has understood the whole world, like how, they will never ever be better because there'll always be somebody who's out there to steal and use their power to take things away from people like her. Okay, so for her, she has seen life already. Okay, that's it. She's decided. Okay, and then and she says, and this is where you have Asagai telling her exactly what he's gone through. Okay, and that kind of puts an end to her educating him. Okay, he says he has lived that answer. Okay, answer to what? When she talked about, where is the end going to be? And she says, you cannot answer it. And he said, I live the answer. And then he talks about how in his village, it is the exceptional man who can even read the newspaper. Now, he knows what's going on in Africa. Okay, at that time, they still, where he came from, literacy was not a thing. Okay, that's why he says an exceptional man can read the newspaper. Okay, it'd be good if someone even comes close to a book. But he's out there, okay, and he is studying and he has all this knowledge, and he says, I know when I go back, no one's even going to understand what I say. Okay? He says, no one's even going to understand what I say. And he says, yeah, of course there'll be people, wait, let me just quote. I will teach and work and things will happen. That's what he says. Slowly and swiftly. At times it will seem that nothing changes at all, and then again, the sudden dramatic events which make history leap into the future, and then quiet again. Guns, murder, revolution, and I even will have moments when I wonder if the quiet was not better than all that death and hatred. But I will look about my village at the illiteracy and disease and ignorance, and I will not wonder long. And perhaps I will be a great man. I mean, perhaps I will hold on to the substance of truth and find my way always with the right cause. And perhaps for it, I will be butchered in my bed some night. So he's saying, he doesn't know what's going to happen, but what he wants is to, just keep going and keep that dream and keep trying to achieve that dream. That's what he wants to do. And nothing should actually affect his zeal to achieve that. If he's already decided that's what he wants to do, then that's what he has to do, and that's what he's going to do, and that's what he's trying to tell Beneatha. Okay, when he says, isn't there something wrong in a house, in a world where all dreams, good or bad, must depend on the death of a man? When he puts it that way, it really makes you think, isn't it? Because look, in Beneatha's house, everything was going to happen only because they had the insurance money. Before that, nobody talked about progress, right? Did anyone talk about, going to do something great or invest in something or earn extra money to invest or to even move to a new house? Nothing. Nobody talked about any kind of progress until they got the insurance money, which means someone had to die for something to actually happen. And so that's what Asaga is telling her, you cannot let one thing and only one thing decide whether you are going to move ahead or not. So in this case, he is telling her, go be idealistic. Be idealistic, because what does he say? Because he says, and it's very odd, but those who see changes, who dream, who will not give up, are called idealists. And those who see only the circle, remember the circle go round and round, the vicious cycle, we call them realists. Those who see changes, those who dream, and those who never give up are idealists. And that's what he's telling her. And so from there we see how he kind of helps to spark a little bit of hope in her. Okay, how and he even gives her that option of following him to Nigeria, where maybe she can help him. Okay, and together they can achieve a dream.